Australia has been here before. It was called fuel. Earlier this year, service stations around the country ran dry. We hadn't actually run out of fuel. A war on the other side of the world briefly closed a shipping lane we rely on and don't control. The Strait of Hormuz seized up, crude went past $100 a barrel, and within a few weeks the strain turned up at our local servos. Australia imports roughly 90% of its liquid fuel. We hold only a thin buffer, and the supply chain runs through choke points we don't get a vote on. I keep coming back to that, because I think it's the clearest preview we have of a much bigger dependence forming right now around artificial intelligence. In June, two of the most important frontier AI releases in the world became unavailable to most of us. Anthropic released its flagship model, Fable 5, then pulled it within days, after a government export control directive. OpenAI previewed its next model, GPT 5.6, not to the public, but to a small number of approved partners, with access coordinated through Washington. One was switched off after release, the other was never broadly switched on. Take away the detail, and it rhymes with the fuel story. A critical input mostly supplied from offshore, moving through a choke point a foreign government can influence. And a sudden reminder that available yesterday does not mean available tomorrow. Someone else has their hand on the tap. With fuel, that exposure built up over decades, and we have more or less made our peace with it. With AI, we are building the same dependence in a fraction of the time, and with far less scrutiny. Because it does not look like a strategic weakness. It looks like a productivity upgrade. That is what makes it dangerous. There is a difference between using AI and becoming dependent on AI infrastructure you do not control. If your core operations rely on a model owned by a foreign company, governed by foreign law, and subject to foreign national security decisions, that is not just a software choice. It is a supply chain choice, and supply chains need buffers. So the awkward question for any Australian business going hard on AI is the same one we keep avoiding on fuel. What is your reserve? If the work that runs your business ends up depending on a model you do not control, what happens on the day the answer is no, or not you, or not yet, or only through a partner? For most firms, the answer is not to go and build a frontier model. It is something more modest. Know where you are dependent. Do not put the whole business on one source that can be restricted from offshore. Keep real choice between providers. Separate the low-risk productivity use from the critical workflows that actually run the business. And value capability you can own and keep over the last few points of benchmark performance. I want to be fair about this. June's restrictions may lift quickly. There are capable open models and non-US models, so this is not a true blockade. This is not a crisis today. But these things do not unhappen. We have now watched frontier AI become something a government can ration, delay, or gate. The lesson from a dry diesel bowser is simple. The time to think about your buffer is before the Strait closes, not while it is shut. This is the Exposure Desk.